Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, after the absolute smash hit success that has been Deadpool and Wolverine at the box office, we'll probably end up coming close to $1 billion this weekend if it won't actually end up crossing it because it's already at like 900 million already. It's absolutely insane. And one of those things that's out there, one of the next projects that Shawn Levy, one of the masterminds responsible for Deadpool and Wolverine, is a Star Wars movie, ladies and gentlemen. And as many of us know what the current state of Disney Star Wars is, it's not so good out there. But some interesting insights from a recent interview with Shawn Levy give us an idea of what his version of Star Wars will end up being, where he plans on setting it, and actually it could end up giving something the fans really want, because even he understands that Disney Star Wars and the sequel trilogy is not somewhere that you want to keep revisiting over and over again, because not only do the fans not like to be reminded about it in any way, shape, or form, it's also not a very great place to hang out and try to move the story forward with. It's something that's been repeated and redone over and over again. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got this article over here from Bounding into Comics. Deadpool and Wolverine director Shawn Levy criticizes the current state of Disney Star Wars. There's only so many times a Star Wars movie can revisit the same section of the timeline. And he is 100% and completely and totally spot on with this one. And boys and girls, it's one of them situations where this does give us some very interesting insight as to what he might end up be doing inside of the Star Wars sandbox. Whether or not it'll actually end up being good or not will always end up being the question for how things end up panning out. And then at the end of the day, this one, I won't say I have any hope for it, because I do feel the same way a lot of the rest of the Star Wars fans out there, that Disney just cannot get out of their own way to give us anything good Star Wars going forward. But considering some of the things he said in here, this is one that I would at least be willing to look into further. Let's put it that way, boys and girls. So what has given me that reason for that? We're going to check out this article from Bounding into Comics, give you all the juicy details, and let you know exactly what he is saying out there, what you might hear about, what all you might think about this, and of course give you my ideas on this as well. So before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are inching our way closer and closer to 1,200 subscribers, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below as to whether or not you're a Star Wars fan that is completely and totally burned by all things Disney Star Wars. You will not trust anything nor watch anything that comes out them, or after the success of Shawn Levy's Deadpool and Wolverine, are you at least willing to give this a consideration, even though we all admit the fact that, hey, guess what? All roads lead to green titty milk after all. So in echoing a widespread sentiment held by fans, Deadpool and Wolverine director is tired of how the Star Wars franchise seems to unable to tell a story not set in the time period between the original and sequel trilogies. And he's going to make sure he avoids the storytelling pitfall when he gets his chance to play in a galaxy far, far away. Now, one of the reasons why does Disney always be able to try to continue going back to the same place? Because Disney is more or less at this point creatively bankrupt, especially when it comes to Disney Star Wars. Nobody in there has any idea how to write themselves out of a wet paper bag, and that's what we continue getting. That's why they place this thing during certain timelines. That's why even though Plagueis should not have even been alive, or if anything, a very young person at the time during the Acolyte series, they still put it in him. Also the same thing with the member berry of Yoda, because they know their stories cannot stand alone on themselves. I mean, look at the expanded universe out there, boys and girls. Look at all of those stories out there that had nothing to do with Luke or Leia or Han or Chewie or Darth Vader or anybody else, that were absolutely phenomenal and that did so well and went over so well with the fans. You can go back to the stories where they talked about the Jedi, you know, the precursor to the Jedi and all of that other kind of stuff. There are so many great eras that you can tell good stories in, and it sounds like Shawn Levy might actually be wanting to do this. And boys and girls, if he actually just avoids the member berries and gives us a good quality Star Wars stories, who knows? How many fans he'll pull in, I have no idea. But at least at the end of the day, he might be able to keep going forward with this kind of stuff. And he's going to make sure he avoids this storytelling pitfall when he gets his chance to play in a galaxy far, far away. Levy offered his take on the current state of Star Wars, making an appearance on the August 5th episode of Josh Horowitz's Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. The current Marvel superstar was first turned to the topic when Horitz asked him, "Star Wars is being written. Your Star Wars film. Amazing. Are you writing with actors in mind?" Interesting question. The current Marvel superstar, in turn, Levy exclaimed, "Oh, wow, you're asking the right questions." Sort of. yes, before laughing and jokingly asking his host, please don't ask a follow-up. Because, of course, as always, anybody knows when you're going out there trying to cast things like this, you don't want to put names out there in the early talks until talks in the background have been happening, unless you're trying to leak something out there to the general audiences to see what kind of feel or reaction they get. If you're actually serious about the people you want to do this, you don't want to put anything out there in the news. You know why? Because if they know you want them, they'll ask for more money. Also, if people know you want them and then somebody else doesn't end up working out there and the fans get really excited about a particular person playing a certain role or something like that, and then they don't get to see it on the big screen, well, then that's not going to work out. It's just going to disappoint a bunch of people, and they're always going to be comparing people. Either way, it's best just to keep all this stuff mum. Absolutely mum. But he clearly does have people inside in mind. From there, Horowitz moved to press Levy. What is Star Wars to you? Is Star Wars the Skywalkers? Is it the Force? What do you love about Star Wars? So delving into his thoughts, Levy asserted, I'll say that the experience of crafting this story has forced me to think about this question, because there are only so many times a Star Wars movie can revisit the same section of the timeline. And so it's really forced me to think, because I don't want to do a Star Wars movie that is redundant to the others. Nor am I interested in doing one that has to serve another movie. Here, good sir. You have this giant, incredible, huge swath of the Star Wars universe that you can build a story. You can build a universe. You can build your own little world inside of it, as long as you make it true to the ideals and the beliefs and the lore that Star Wars already has. You're not rewriting things. You're not trying to discredit other stories by making this the Force, the first ever Force baby, all this other nonsense. As long as you avoid all of that kind of stuff, like I didn't watch Andor, right? But the people that did seem to watch it did seem to enjoy it, right? A lot of people seem to have a good time with it. They seem to like it. For those that did watch it, it was one of the lowest rated Disney Star Wars shows ever up until the new one, up until the latest. But at the end of the day, it got a pretty good audience reception. And it's one of those things, you can do that kind of thing, right? There's no reason you can't go off. What it needs to be is a good, compelling story that people can act with, characters that people can actually get invested in, and it doesn't rag on everything that came before, or doesn't try to destroy or disparage everything that came before. It's not rocket science, I promise you, at all. And also the whole not wanting to serve another movie, yes, please. Like, let's just have this, well, you got to watch the next one to see what's going to happen with these characters. Or, oh, this is just a follow, this is the lead up to something else. No. Just give us a good one-off Star Wars stories. And if things are successful, go from there. But let's just go for one good Star Wars stories, please. Can we please? I really wanted to craft something that felt organic to me, both in tone and characters. And that's nothing wrong with that. I think that's what a lot of people like, that organic to both me and tone and characters. There is something that is one thing that you can definitely say about Disney Star Wars in this era right now. It feels so inorganic. It feels like they are trying to shove and cram things down into places that it simply does not belong. And it fails time and time again. All you have to do is look at everything that's happened since Solo, a Star Wars story. It has been one disastrous dumpster fire after another, with two slight bright spots with Mandalorian season 1 and 2. Other than that, it's been a giant dumpster fire that just feels like it's one member berry after another, and trying to remind people of things that they don't want to be thought of, but don't want to think about, i.e. the sequel trilogy, and continuing to bring that stuff up and throw that stuff back into people's faces. And it sounds like Levy might actually try to avoid all of those pitfalls entirely, and that's a great idea on things to do. So I think there's certainly the Force and a connection to something bigger than our individual selves, and that the way we can make us powerful, those themes combined with a visual delight and wish fulfillment, that's Star Wars to me. And honestly, he's not trying to rewrite the book here. He's not trying to rewrite everything that's come before. He's just trying to basically go, hey, yeah, a traditional hero's journey inside of the Star Wars universe that's using all of the aspects of Star Wars and understanding where all that comes from. Yes, that's what you do. And that's what's been drastically missing from all of these Star Wars shows, right? Everything's been a Mary Sue. Everything's been the bestest ever. Everything's been the Jedi are nothing but bad guys. They're all evil. They're the worst people responsible. They get what they deserve. All of that kind of stuff, right? That's what it's all been. Instead of cherishing and appreciating and loving the lore and the universe that's been established before you and trying to expand upon it and just maybe doing your own little story inside that world. Instead, they have tried to tarnish and disparage the past over and over again. And that's why it doesn't work well with fans. So interesting, this is not the first time Levy has pressed on his reading of the Star Wars franchise DNA, and by Horowitz no less. Speaking in October of 2023, A Star Wars director opined, listen, we've seen different tones succeed. We've seen Andor and its strength. We've seen The Force Awakens and its strength. Basically just a rehash of A New Hope. We've seen Rian Johnson's Star Wars movies and its strength. Obviously not saying anything those were great. For me, again, I can only make things for the flow for me in an intuitive way. For me, I guess this reconnects to episodes 4, 5, and 6. It's a combination of swashbuckling fun, swagger, but also in-depth relationship connections. What you are willing to sacrifice for, either a person or an idea, and the best Star Wars movie, it's both. Thank you. Thank you, sir. This actually sounds like somebody who legitimately understands Star Wars. He legitimately understands storytelling. And obviously what we've seen with the success of Deadpool and Wolverine, it seems like, who knows? Is it going to be good? Maybe. Is it probably going to be better than everything we've got under Kathleen Kennedy and everybody else over there at Disney Star Wars right now? Dave Filoni, I'm looking at you. Probably. Is it going to fix anything? No. But it might actually ingratiate a few of the Star Wars fans out there that have been burned time and time again by Disney Star Wars ran by Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni. Probably. If it's good Star Wars. At the end of the day, good Star Wars will bring fans back in. You're not going to get everybody. You will never, ever get everybody. But maybe keep going this forward. Just keep ignoring all of the Disney sequel stuff, and maybe, just maybe, you'll get lucky. But honestly, at the end of the day, Shawn Levy's got a great track record. The guy's done great stuff. I loved Deadpool and Wolverine. So would I give it a shot? Absolutely. Am I going to go out there and see it at the theaters? Probably not. But who knows what happens, boys and girls? There may be hope in a galaxy far, far away. But at the end of the day, we all know nothing is ever really going to change until the Disney sequel trilogy is completely and totally decanonized. And guess what? Disney Star Wars, Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, and everybody else, you earned this ire. You did it to yourself.